Hey there, I'm Matt Clark, CEO and co-founder of Amazing.com. And so today we have a very special guest here. He's been very successful selling on Amazon, did about $3 million in the past year, and we're going to figure out how exactly he did it. He also has a very cool story that you're going to learn all about. So Mike, welcome to the call.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike. So this is Mike McClary. So what we'd like to start off with, just so you know, we're not messing around here, is I'd like to, Mike, just to show you really what's possible with what he's done, selling on Amazon. So Mike, if you wouldn't mind, just show him kind of what you've done with this business.
Yeah, sure. Let me take over the screen here. So just give me a second to pull it up. So let me pause this so you guys can see it. So I actually run several different businesses. I own several different brands. And in here, this is one of them. So over the past 12 months, you can see here, I've taken this screenshot just this morning at 7:20 in the morning Pacific time. This brand did about $830,000. That's one of them. But what I also have are two other brands that I manage via FBA on Amazon. This one did about 283,000, and then another one that did about 350,000. So altogether, when you look at what I'm doing here on the FBA side, it's around $1.5 million in sales that I've been doing. And that's just over the past 12 months. And each one of these brands is doing great and growing better than ever. So what I wanted to pull up here, Matt, is also, a view of exactly like what's the profit look like on a business like this. So this is a tool we use called Hello Profit. And you can see here, working my way over from the left to the right, here's where we're at today. Did over, $900 in sales today. Then when we did over almost 22,000 7 days, 67 in the past 2 weeks. And then in the past 30 days, we've done about $112,000 in sales. This is just on one of those brands, that first one that I showed you. And the key thing here that I like to take away is that we have a really healthy profit margin. So this is a 23% profit margin on that $112,000. And that takes into account everything else. All the Amazon FBA fees, even our advertising costs are already taken out of there. So that is a true profit on what we're making over the past 30 days. And then another thing I want to tell you is that this is a pretty consistent business. So if we go and we let's look at last year. I'm going to pull this up live. You can see me doing it in real time. So last year, this brand did $921,000 with a 42% profit margin. The year before, $1 million. So there may seem to be a little tail off, but that's actually because I've moved some products over into another brand. But it's a sign that, this is a really consistent business model that we're on target to break $1 million this year again, after doing about the same for the past 2 years in a row. So it's a great type of business that I was able to build several years ago. And then there's one other thing too, if you do all this math here, I said about $1.5 million. There's another part of my sales that I wanted to show you as well. And look over here. I also sell some products to Amazon. And if you add all these up, it comes out to be about $1.2 million in sales here also. And so we can talk more about that later. I know it's kind of confusing going through everything that I'm going over here, but I just want to make sure you kind of got a big view of all the different ways that I'm selling products on Amazon and how awesome it's been going over the past several years for me.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah. So, I really kind of wanted Mike to show that real quick, just so that you can see that, this thing is real. Mike knows what he's doing. We're going to figure out exactly how he did this. So there's a couple cool things there that I didn't even know Mike was going to show. So, you saw that from that one business. So Mike has multiple accounts. He sells on Amazon in multiple ways. So he has multiple different kinds of Amazon seller accounts. And he also has multiple different brands, which is why it's kind of like multiple screenshots all over the place. Overall, he's told me it adds up to about $3 million over the past year, which is absolutely awesome. And, there's something there that you may have missed, is that there have been some orders where Mike has gotten directly from Amazon for $250,000 in a single day. Amazon literally placed an order from him. So we'll talk more about that later. It gets into a whole different side of Amazon most people are not familiar with, but it does have some cool opportunities. The other thing too is I'm so glad Mike showed profits. A lot of people throw around sales numbers. And if you know anything about Amazon reporting, which is a whole different discussion, sales can kind of be a little misleading sometimes. At the end of the day, all that really matters if you're out there building a business is the amount of profit actually hitting your account. And what you saw from one of Mike's businesses, $111,000 in sales past 30 days, about 25 grand in actual profit. And that's after all Amazon fees. That's after all advertising he's doing on Amazon. So it's kind of everything included after product costs, all the shipping that it took to get the products to Amazon, all that stuff included. And he's making some awesome profit there. So get into is kind of like, take us back to the beginning. Like, how did you get started in this business? And more importantly, I guess, what were you doing before you started this business?
Yeah, if you had asked me 4.5 years ago, if I'd ever be, working for myself, selling products on Amazon, I would have laughed because I didn't even really know you could do that on Amazon. But over 4 years ago, I was sitting at a corporate job. I worked for a large cable company in St. Louis, and it was a pretty good job. I can't really complain about it. Good team and everything. However, I just wasn't feeling very satisfied with the job. Like I had to travel a lot for it, not travel that I wanted to do, but travel that I had to do for the business. Worked a lot of long hours, going through traffic when I had to go into the office. It was just not something that I could see myself doing for the next, 20, 30 years before I finally had a chance to retire and, live with my 2 to 3 weeks vacation every year. So I guess it was in early 2013, I actually did some online training on how to start your own business. And that business model that I was trained on was how to sell products on Amazon. And it was pretty cool because once I realized just how easy it actually is to go out there and source your own products and brand them as your own, my eyes were opened up to an entire world of possibilities. And that's why, Matt, when you like look at my results here, why I have different businesses that I've started up, I've learned so much over the past several years, the advantages of starting an additional brand, of creating an entire new business, and so that you can sell that business later on. And then the advantages of building relationships, not with people like you and Jason and the folks, but also building relationships with Amazon themselves. I talk to Amazon quite often in order to grow my business with them. So it's amazing how I was able to pivot from a finance guy working for a cable company to I guess, an entrepreneur, branding, selling, and running my own business virtually, right from anywhere I want to, whenever I travel, all online with very, very little effort as far as customer service or shipping or anything goes.
Yes, I know. That you basically have like a small office in your town, basically just so you can sort of get some peace and quiet away from your house with kids and everything else. But other than that, like, you can pretty much do this business from anywhere. It's just you have the office because it kind of works better for your schedule and sort of peace of mind. So then, like, what did this business sort of? How did it grow over time? Like, you, from what I know, you basically you watched some free videos, you took a course, you learned how to sell on Amazon. I'm sure there's a lot of trial and error. Like, how long was it until you actually had a product that was really cranking along, making money? And then how long until you were able to actually get, sort of financial freedom from it so that you could leave your job?
Sure, sure. I remember watching those free training videos, I believe it was in February of 2013. And then once I really got into learning how to run this business, my first product was launched May 30th, I believe, of 2013. And then it was kind of funny because we started making money right away. And to me, it felt like it was huge money. When we hit like a $5,000 sales mark a month later, that was just incredible. I mean, the idea that I could go out there and bring in a couple $1,000s in profit with very, very little effort was amazing. And then what happened after that was incredible too. After we hit the $5,000 mark, then within another month or two, we hit 10,000. Then by that fall of 2013, we were doing $50,000 a month in sales. And by that end of the calendar year, Matt, I was able to put in my notice and quit my job. So I really didn't launch my product till, let's say, May 30th, and able to tell my company by December 31st of that year that I'm out of there. So it was, less than a year, then I was able to actually launch my products and quit and work completely for myself.
Yeah, I mean, like, what I found out is, like, we've helped a lot of people build this kind of business. I've sold on Amazon quite a bit myself. And, I feel like back in the day, we used to not make such a big deal about product selection, but now it seems like such an important part of this thing. It's like you hear a lot of people that just throw a product up and all of a sudden it's making 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month. And other people throw a product up and they do all this marketing and all this promotion, but it just never really picks up a lot of traction. It's kind of like they're pushing a big rock up a hill. Like, what do you think about the importance of product selection? And, like, what do you think are some ways that people can really avoid making mistakes when it comes to product selection?
Yeah, product selection is huge and can make or break your business, like you said. And I hear those stories too, Matt, about people who just randomly select product, and within a month they're making $10,000, which is awesome. I have that love-hate relationship with those people because I'm a little jealous on how they do that. But what probably happened is they lucked into finding that right product, and it fit all the criteria that people like myself who've been selling for a long time, we know to look for. So we know to look for products that, aren't too heavy and that fit a certain price range and that we can get a certain product, profit margin off of. We know products that we're able to advertise for that we can private label. We know those things now that some people may luckily just randomly guess and get lucky with. But now it's more of a science. And I like to think of it as a formula. If you can check off the boxes and make sure that the products that you're picking are the right ones and fit all the right criteria, your chances for success are exponentially increased. And one thing to keep in mind is what I'm telling you about the product selection criteria is that it changes over time. 3.5, 4 years ago, it may have been one way to find a product, and based upon the market at that place, how Amazon was selling, how customers were buying, a certain way of finding a product worked perfectly well. That changes over time. So you really need to keep your pulse on the marketplace in order to continually update how you select your products for the biggest chances of success.
I mean, one thing I know you've done that we've kind of talked about is like, I know like some of your products like have some pretty decent like profit margins. I feel like a lot of times like people are like either they're delusional or they're just sloppy in their kind of research, and they end up throwing a product up that after everything considered, they're like, hey, it barely makes any money. I don't have any money for ads or anything like that. Like that's pretty much all research they could have figured out ahead of time. But I feel like people are so anxious to get anything live that they kind of like, oh, I'll just worry about that whole profit thing later. But they get a product live and it kind of like pulls everything to a screeching halt because like it's like every sale you make, you're almost losing money instead of making money.
No, you're right. And in addition to profit margin, one of the things that I've been really looking at later on or more recently is the return on my investment. And I don't know if you saw that in a previous screen that I shared, the ROI on one of my businesses was almost 100%. So, and that's coming from exactly what you're talking about, going for the higher priced items. Early on, I definitely went for the lower price ones because you know what? That's all I could afford. That I had no idea if this was really going to work. So I didn't, want to go out there and really invest a lot of money into this and didn't probably have a ton to invest into it. But now that I've seen how it works and I see how you can much more quickly grow by following the profits and following the right products, then I am much more confident going out there and selling a product now for $70. Whereas before, I may have focused on $15 products. I know exactly how to get a bigger return on my investment now.
Yeah, awesome. So you get this business going, you've got a product live, maybe a couple products live. It's kind of cranking along doing 50 grand a month in sales and still growing like that. Like what did it sort of look like after? Like how did you scale sales more? Did you go into multiple brands? Like what happened with your business after that?
Yeah. So the first thing I did is I always added more products to an existing brand. So the easiest way to grow is once you have one product that's selling well, is to simply add complementary products and grow and build out that brand. I look at that not only as a way to scale your business, but also to limit your risk. And that way, in case one of my products ever had a slow month in sales, I had 3, 4, 5 other products to kind of carry the load that month. That strategy worked out great. And then I realized that exact same strategy could be applied to brands. Once I had a brand that was selling well, I might as well go out there, follow the same criteria, find a different niche or category to get into, launch a product to get going, and then start launching complementary products. So those additional products were the first step to build the brand. Once you built a brand, I launched additional brands, just replicating that exact same process. Now, the other part that we'll probably talk about later on is making that leap that for me was kind of like I thought was luck, but I don't think it really was. And that was getting invited to a special program we talked about from Amazon. They reached out to me. I had no idea what it was. Hardly anyone that I knew what it was. But that was another way to almost double my business right away also. And I look at that as an entirely new sales channel, another way to limit any risk I've ever worried about. So yeah, it's multiple products, then multiple brands, and then looking into multiple channels as well.
Yes, I mean, let's go ahead and get into this since you brought it up. So, I mean, like the normal way to sell on Amazon for anybody watching, like you could be new at this, you could be already a seller, you're looking to scale. But if the normal way to sell is you go through Seller Central. So Amazon Seller Central, you can Google it, super easy to find. You set up an account. It's basically $40 a month for the kind of account that you need. And then you can basically add products. Now, the sort of model that Mike has followed and that we recommend is you're basically creating your own brand of these products. And so basically with Seller Central, you're adding a new product that you've created under your own brand and you're selling it on Amazon. Now you're out there and you have a product listing, a page on Amazon for your product, your brand. You can start getting traffic and sales on there. So when you do that, basically you're buying inventory, you're sending it to Amazon, And then whenever you get a sale, it's deducting from your inventory with Seller Central. Now, there's another way this business works, which usually, Mike could probably tell you more about this than I can, but usually the way that it works, there's kind of some back doors to this thing, but usually the way that it works is you're doing a certain amount of sales volume through Seller Central pretty consistently. Usually it's like a few $100,000 a month for a few months or something like that. And then Amazon sort of contacts you and they're like, hey, we'd like to invite you to a program called Vendor Central, where instead of you going out there and basically doing one-off orders to customers, Amazon will place a bulk order from you. They'll basically buy a bunch of inventory from you, and then they'll do all this selling to customers, which is kind of overall like how this thing works. The weird thing is too, is how they set pricing. They're kind of like, most people are haggling for pricing. Amazon's kind of like, what do you want to charge us for each product? Which still is, it's very confusing. I guess there's kind of reasoning to that. Mike can maybe talk about that. But like, one thing I like to show people real quick is, Mike, do you still have your Vendor Central account up?
Yeah, sure.
I like to show them some of those like crazy paydays you've gotten where Amazon's basically saying, yeah, we like your brand, we like your products, we want to buy a crap load of inventory from you. And Mike gets a giant bank transfer.
All right, so I'm going to switch on over here to those accounts there. So here it is right here. So I was showing you how I did a little over 1.2 million with the Vendor Central account that we're talking about. And you may have saw this earlier, Matt. If you scroll down here, this one sale, that was for a single day during the holiday season where they ordered 12,000, not 1,200, not 120, 12,000 units of one of my products. And that was a $250,000 sale. So, and the thing to also look at is that wasn't the only, major order that I had. I was having other decent sized orders too, 16, 14, 12, 10. But when I received that one order, that was pretty amazing. And that's not the only time that it's happened. If I go back in time further, this has happened twice for me previously, those big Christmas sales. I'm expecting another big one this year also. We're working out the terms for that. So it's kind of one of those things where this is a great program for consistent sales all along. But when the holidays kick in, you have these opportunities that are not presented to anyone else, where it can literally be a $250,000 payday. It's unbelievable. And also, it's not just, I'm not in this program just for the holidays. Let me show you something else right here also. Here we go. So I just did a month-to-date screenshot from September 1st through September 17th. And if you can see this, but through my Vendor Central account, we shipped out over 6,000 units this month alone, and that's over $104,000 in sales. Now, that's not $104,000 in sales that Amazon made. That's actually the price that I charged Amazon. I charged Amazon $104,000 for those products that they just sold. So they probably sold about $250,000 in products this month alone because we had a really good sized month already. And so that's another way. All throughout the year, we're making sales. And then when this happens, I don't know if you can see this here too, Matt, but I'm down to about 607 units of products at Amazon, which may seem for a new seller, that's a lot, but for me, that's really, really small. So what happened in the past couple of weeks is that Amazon has placed a lot more orders. You can see the order dates here, all the way through September 7th through September 18th. I got about 10 purchase orders here, 22,000, 2210, several other ones. If I add it up, it's about $65,000 in new purchase orders. So Amazon just, paid me over, $100,000 on what they just sold. And now I've ordered another $65,000 in products for me all this month. So yeah, it's a pretty cool program to be involved in.
Yeah, it looks like on that one day, 910, if I'm reading this right, you got 900 for 22,000, another 900 for another 22,000. It's like 45 grand right there in one day.
Yeah, all in one day.
Sweet. So so as far as like getting into this program, like you were basically just kind of invited because you were doing a good amount of sales volume in Seller Central, right?
Right. So it was within, I guess, 12 months of selling that they reached out to us. And at that time, we were probably doing about $75,000, $80,000 in sales. So it wasn't even an ungodly amount. They reached out to me. And again, when I got the email, I had no idea what it was for. I kind of thought it was a little suspicious. Hi, I'm someone from Amazon with a real name, and we want to buy directly from you. It's kind of like a phishing email. So I called the guy on the phone. He had the right area code and everything, talked to him. And they were legitimate. And we talked about all the details of the program. And the funniest thing was, I think you and I mentioned this before, the only thing we didn't talk about was the price of my products. It was exactly like you mentioned. I I walked away from the call, kind of feeling dumb, like, when is he going to bring up what they're going to pay me? But literally what happened is when we got off the call, I signed a contract, and then I made them a proposal on 3 of our products, and they accepted them right away. The pricing that I was. Now, I'm trying to be a really smart business person, so I know what makes me a good profit, and I want to make sure that they're winning out of this too. I want to make sure that they're making a profit out of it. That way, it's a win-win. I also learned a bunch of other things throughout the past 3 years in this, how to price my products so that when it comes time for those big sales around the holidays, I still have some room to give some really big discounts in order to sell 12,000 units one day and still make a really good profit off of it. So I've learned a ton, and it's still a learning experience. And I can't wait to see exactly what this holiday season is going to bring for us.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, so like Amazon does, I think if you look at like their quarterly revenue data, like a lot of times they do like double in the last quarter when Christmas and everything is, and Black Friday and all that. They do basically double the amount of sales in that quarter than they do any other quarter. So it's always a huge sort of time of the year for people who sell on Amazon. So don't want to take too much more of your time here, Mike, but like, what I like to sort of wrap up with is, you've built this business. So just refresh me real quick about how many years ago did you start selling on Amazon?
I started halfway through 2013. So we're just 4 years into it.
Okay, so about 4 years into it, and you do about $3 million a year. And we've kind of run the math. We know people that have sold these business. I've sold a physical products business. We have relationships with brokers and that kind of thing. And so basically, if you're doing like $1 million in sales and a 25% profit margin, a 4x multiple, that business is worth about $1 million. So as long as you have a reasonably healthy profit margin in this business, your business is worth about what you're doing in revenue. So in just a short, basically 4 years, you've built a business that's worth probably at minimum $3 million. But it's not just something where you've been pouring everything into. You've never been able to do anything with the money, and you're sort of living inside of a cardboard box while you're doing it. You're using this to kind of fund your lifestyle, because you may sell, you may not sell. It's kind of up to you at this point. Either way, the business is producing good, solid cash flow. So with this business, you went from a corporate sort of 9-to-5 job. I know you traveled a bunch. And now you've got this business that kind of allows you to do what you want, produces good cash flow, has this kind of really life-changing wealth if you ever decide to sell the thing. Like, how has this sort of changed life for you? I mean, what's the sort of like transformation been like for you as an individual, you for your family, and that sort of thing?
I think the biggest change for me has got to be my peace of mind. I know it sounds weird to say that, but I don't stress about money. I don't worry about it. I know that, it's a cash flow machine that's constantly running, and I don't even have to really worry a lot about running it anymore. I have hired a few people to help me out with the customer service that, it's not even a big deal, but I'm in a situation where why should I even have to worry about answering a customer email? Because I'm making enough that I can pay someone to do that and give them a job out of it. It's a great feeling. I'm empowering someone else, helping their life, and truly freeing me up to do other things that I really love doing. So I feel such a feeling of, I guess, I don't know, peace and relaxation, and so much less stress about managing my own Amazon businesses and worrying about my future financial, what's going to happen when I retire. Because you're right, this is a big asset. It's the perfect combination of having cash flow and having retirement savings, sitting in my business that I own. That doesn't even include probably the inventory that I have. I did some math this morning, and I have probably $500,000 in inventory sitting in my business too. So that's another piece of the asset. So when I do all that and I think about how my life's changed, I just think about the peace of mind that I have, knowing that I'm not going to work the rest of my life. I'm going to be able to enjoy more and more time with my kids. I've been able to do a lot of things. I don't tell a lot of people about this, but I send my kids to private schools because that's one of the things that's really important to my wife and I. We want them to have the best education possible. This has made that a possibility. We would not have been able to do that without that. I'm able to, after we're done here today, I'm going to go watch my daughter play tennis because I can do that. I can cut out and go do that. And then I'll cut out and watch my son play racquetball once he starts up with that. We just took a great trip to Hawaii on a nice family vacation. Like we've never been able to do really big fancy vacations. But now we don't worry about that. We're not going to go out there and be irresponsible, but we're able to do things now and not worry about them. We're just able to do it, enjoy life, know that I'm going to have, an asset that I can retire off of, maybe hand down to my kids should they decide they want to do this as well. And I'm not going to stress about the little things in life. There's nothing to stress about anymore when it comes to, my financial prosperity and how I'm going to, live my life later on. It's it's been a really big weight lifted off my shoulder as far as time and money goes.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, yeah, congratulations, Mike. And thank you very much for jumping on here, sharing, being so transparent, literally showing inside of your Amazon accounts just to provide some sort of real reality check for people and what's possible with the business. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, thanks, Matt, for having me on, Mary. I love sharing my story. It seems like whenever I'm able to, the story keeps getting better and better. So I'm happy to come out here and keep share with as many people as possible. So hopefully others can follow in our footsteps and change their lives as well.
Watching this, we actually have a brand new free video series that's releasing. So teaching you all about how to build this kind of business, how to build a business with Amazon, how to find what product to sell. We talked about how important product selection is, how to source the products from the USA, from China, how to automate the business with FBA, and the big piece, how to actually get sales. So getting a product up on Amazon is one piece, but how to actually get rankings for search keywords and really leverage everything available on Amazon, all included in the free video series. So check the link in the description and go get that free video series as soon as it's available, all about how to build this kind of business with Amazon, and very similar to the kind of video series that Mike started with, years ago, that kind of kicked all this off for him. So you're starting in a great place. Check out that free video series. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.